Famous case laws. On May 17, 1954, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Earl Warren delivered the unanimous 9-0 ruling in the landmark civil rights case Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas. African American children were denied admission to public schools attended by white children under laws permitting racial segregation. The U.S. Supreme Court declared state laws establishing separate public schools for black and white students unconstitutional. Overturning the separate but equal doctrine of Plessy v. Ferguson, 1896, was a major victory for the civil rights movement. Roe v. Wade is a legal case in which the U.S. Supreme Court ruled, 7-2, on January 22, 1973, that unduly restrictive state regulation of abortion is unconstitutional. Norma McCorvey, Jane Roe, challenged Texas laws criminalizing most abortions. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the Constitution protects a pregnant woman's liberty to choose to have an abortion without excessive government restriction. The decision established a woman's legal right to an abortion under the 14th Amendment. It balanced a woman's right to privacy with the state's interests in regulating abortions. On June 26, 2015, in Obergefell v. Hodges, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled, 5-4, that state bans on same-sex marriage and their recognition violate the 14th Amendment. James Obergefell and others challenged state bans on same-sex marriage. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that same-sex marriage is a constitutional right under the 14th Amendment. The decision legalized same-sex marriage nationwide and was a landmark moment for LGBTQ+ rights. Decided in December 1892, Carlisle and Carbolic Smoke Ball Company was a landmark English contract law case. The Carbolic Smoke Ball Company promised £100 to anyone who used their product and still contracted influenza. Mrs. Carlisle used it and got sick. The Court of Appeal held that the company's advertisement constituted a binding unilateral offer, which Mrs. Carlisle accepted by performing the conditions stated. The case established important principles in contract law, particularly regarding unilateral contracts and the requirement of communication of acceptance. On June 27, 1986, in Nicaragua v. United States of America, the International Court of Justice, ICJ, decided that U.S. military and paramilitary actions against Nicaragua violated international law. Nicaragua brought a case against the United States for its support of Contra rebels and mining of Nicaraguan harbors. The ICJ ruled that the U.S. had violated international law by supporting the Contras and mining Nicaraguan harbors. The decision asserted the principle of non-intervention in sovereign states' affairs. The U.S. rejected the ICJ's jurisdiction and did not comply with the judgment. Decided on May 26, 1932, Donahue and Stevenson was a foundational case in modern negligence law. Mrs. Donahue consumed a ginger beer purchased by a friend and found a decomposed snail in it, leading to illness. The House of Lords established the modern concept of negligence, holding that manufacturers owe a duty of care to the end consumers. The case introduced the neighbor principle, forming the foundation of the modern law of negligence.